Thank you so much.
Welcome back to the live broadcast of the Liberian Telecommunications Cybersecurity Conference. And this is the last aspect of the awareness conference here today in Liberia. And that was the culture and performance of the National Arts and Culture Ambassador Group here. Therefore, we had the program. And so you are welcome to the live broadcast. My name is Gwendolyn Dorado.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Culture Group. Thanks. We'll move right into our presentation. And I know he couldn't be more than ready. He has come up here and danced with the culture too. He was giving us a sign of what he has in stock for us.
Sure.
So we all, included all of us, myself included, we're excited to bring to the podium our very own Mr. Mark Morris.
Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you for having me. I was just sitting there thinking, after 2 days of really awesome content and knowledge, this is going to be a hard act to follow. But my goal today is to bring everything full circle for you all. Today, we're going to be talking about critical infrastructure and what it means to protect critical infrastructure from a cybersecurity perspective, and more broadly, the risks and the threats to critical infrastructure. But I think what will bring or drive the point home for you all is this is going to be more of a practical deep dive. Everything you've been listening to for the last 2 days, I'm going to try to bring everything home full circle for you so you can see in action, what does this all mean? You know, how does this manifest in real life? So that's my task today. So the title of my presentation speaks for itself, because I wanted to bring about some level of, some shock value, and I want you to understand that there is real danger out there. And it needs to be something that we take very seriously as we continue to expand the digital landscape of Liberia. All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? As I mentioned, there's this concept of critical infrastructure. And in very short order, I'm going to explain to you what that means. But basically, it touches every part of our life as Liberians. In fact, everywhere you go in the globe, you're going to see that there's this concept of critical infrastructure. And when you marry that with all the efforts around digital transformation, you will see the tremendous risks and threats that are faced with critical infrastructure. So today we're going to be talking about the dangers that face critical infrastructure. But before we even get into that deep dive, I'm going to recap for you, like I mentioned, everything you guys have been listening to for the last 2 days. I want you to connect the dot as we have this conversation. Just think about all the things you've been hearing from my esteemed colleagues, to all the experts that are in the room, to our partners and audience, member of the audience. So just keep that in mind. And at the end of my talk, guess what? We're gonna have a surprise event. And I think you're gonna really like this event because it's gonna make you practice some muscle memory based on what you've been learning and listening to for the last 2 days. Okay, so what qualifies me to stand before you today? And again, thanks to our sponsors, LTA, and thanks to you esteemed members of the audience. We were brought here to share our experiences and our knowledge with you. But at least the question some of you might be thinking about, why is this guy standing talking to me? And I think it was the MC that mentioned that if you're even gonna go talk to people who are not so much aware of what's going on, you better be ready. So this is a brief background about me. And what's missing here is I am a proud Liberian. And I'm proud of my country, and I was born here, grew up here, and I'm just fortunate to get some opportunity to go and learn and have a professional career, which I did. Just a fun fact, I graduated from CWA, and I have at least one fox in the room here, commission. Oh, 2 foxes, 3 foxes, 4, 5. So as you can see, CW is well represented over here. So I don't want to start any high school competition here, but so. All right, so like I mentioned, I'm going to recap for you everything you've been listening to for the last 2 days. So what have we learned? We learned that, and again, I want everybody to say this jingle. I know you just had lunch, so I'm going to keep you interactive. I'm going to keep this very interactive with you. So let's go. Cybersecurity is
Everyone's
business. Come on, you can do better than that. Come on. Cybersecurity is
everyone's business.
good. We've learned that. We also learned that cyber laws, regulations, and policies are needed now for Liberia. I'm sure that's a key takeaway for you. So if you can influence your local House of Representatives to start thinking this way, you will be helping the cause. We also learned that Liberia's cyber posture is in its infancy. I think we're trying to have or two, but we all can agree that we have a lot of work to do. So that's another key takeaway for all of us. And we also learned that Liberia does not need to take the cybersecurity journey alone. There are countless of partners we can learn from. We can learn from what other nations are doing, and we have Liberian experts that we can also learn from. I think Ms. Fahad was mentioning that in the diaspora, we do have a healthy number of well-qualified Liberian professionals. We can, learn from them. We can bring them to be part of the solution. We also learned that cyber attacks continue to evolve. I think Commissioner Benson mentioned that you think you know or you train right now, but before you wake up the next day, everything has changed, right? There's new ways to do things. So Liberia needs to catch up. We need to build capacity and capabilities. And to do that, I'm sorry to say, we have to invest. Let's not make this whole idea of cybersecurity a NATO event, per His Excellency's statement. We have to take action, we have to invest. Basically, they say, put your money where your mouth is. We also know that there are practical defensive tactics you can learn every day. I think Kelvin's talk was on that. What are those basic fundamental things you can do and learn to have a better cyber hygiene? We also learned that. So these are the things that we'll be learning over the last couple of days, right? Regulations, need for investment, right? The need to be aware that this thing is real, the threat is real, and we have to act. All right, so let's get into it. Critical infrastructure. So you're going to hear this term a lot. I think you already heard it over and over again. But if you're really asking what is critical infrastructure, it's very simple. Let me see your show of hands. Who owns a cell phone? Please raise your hand. If you didn't raise your hand, I'll be really, really, really. You and I need to have a conversation. Okay. Raise your hand if you use that cell phone to make payments. Okay? Raise your hand if you still use that cell phone to send emergency information, contacting to your loved ones, if you need to reach them. Okay. Raise your hand if you have a bank account. Okay. Raise your hand if you ever use hospital services. Okay. And finally, you see what I'm doing there? I'm making you exercise so this lunch doesn't kick in. Raise your hand if you ever use electricity services. Okay. So I just noticed that almost 100% of this room has interacted with critical services. So when it comes to what is considered critical infrastructure, it is basically all the assets, services, and facilities that we use every day that are actually needed for the functioning of society and economies. That's what critical infrastructure means. And it evolves over time because something may not be critical today, but 10 years from now it will be considered critical infrastructure. So for example, the Freeport, would you consider Freeport as critical services or critical infrastructure? Aha, you will. And some point, It's not there, we're not there yet, but at some point in time, when AI has taken over, right, we're going to, just organically, we're going to create new critical services, or critical infrastructure. So just think about it. Those things are necessary to ensure the smooth functioning of society are considered critical infrastructure. That's a very simplistic definition. So if you're ever wondering, please refer to that. All right. So let's talk about the risk to critical infrastructure. What are some of the things that can happen? Well, we have, when I asked who owns a bank account, almost the entire room raised their hand. So we have banks in Liberia that people use their services. Those banks are considered critical infrastructure. But imagine you wake up one day, maybe you are out of town in Liberia, then you come back to Monrovia, your self-service was kind of spotty when you're in the interior, you come back, and the next thing you know, your favorite bank is offline. And not just offline, but it's been offline for a while. And you can't deposit money, you can't withdraw money, you can't send money. Now your kids' school fees are due, your rent is due, or for that matter, your mortgage is due. And you can't do none of that. Banks cannot lend money to businesses anymore, and everything's come to a screeching halt in terms of economic activity. I just want you to picture that for a second. What does that mean? Well, let's take another one. We all love our Orange and MTN, right? We live and breathe and die by those two companies. We love them. But let's just say I'm a very sophisticated nation-state hacker, and somehow I managed to infiltrate, I'm not going to pick me, but one of those companies' ICT systems. And now I was very specific, and I wanted something, my focus was on a very specific part of their ICT system, which is their payment ecosystem. Now, we all heard today from Calvin and from other speakers about this whole fraud, online fraud going with mobile money, right? But I want you to extrapolate that and make it 10 times or maybe 100 times. Instead of, I'm a very overzealous hacker. I don't want to pickpocket the everyday Calvin. He's, it's just Calvin. But what if I'm sitting right on the central ICT system in one of these companies that manages the entire payment landscape? What does that mean? Think about that for a second. So now instead of having access to Calvin's money, is whatever it was, it's $7,000. Now I'm sitting on the payment gateway for one of these companies, and I have access to everybody's money. I can route money around. In fact, if I really want to be, I don't want to be noisy, you know what I'll do? For every transaction, I just take a dime. If my aim was fraud. But if my aim, I'm a nation state actor, and I'm at conflict with the Republic of Liberia, now it becomes a national security thing. So what would I do? I would just destroy the system. Now nobody can do any transaction. So you can see where I'm going with this, right? Critical infrastructure and the protection that you deserve cannot be underestimated. We really need to pay attention to this. So you say, well, Liberia is just a small country. We probably will not have these kind of attacks. We shouldn't worry about risk and threats to critical infrastructure. I would say you are sadly wrong. But before I get into that, let me just give you some, examples of what could happen, some recent attacks. throughout the world. I tried, again, I wanted to have the shock value on you all. But let's take one of these examples. Let's take United Health Group. Just look in the upper right-hand corner of the slide deck and look at that amount, that figure. I mean, that was just from one ransomware attack on that health insurance provider. I don't know what the Liberian budget is, but the day we start getting really rich and these talented hackers pay attention to us, I mean, that's just one ransomware attack, right? So this has tremendous economic impact. It has tremendous national security impact. So I don't know, the other thing I would like to highlight is the colonial pipeline that attack that happened in America I think it was maybe 2 years ago, a little under a year ago. If just the sophisticated nature of it. I know Liberia does not have massive pipelines today, but what if there's, God bless us, oil was discovered off our coastlines, and now we got these massive pipelines going everywhere, right? And we don't have good cyber hygiene. Imagine what could happen. Attackers were able to hack a major oil producer's pipeline in the East Coast, and they literally shut down gasoline and diesel, transfer in between different refineries. If that happens here, my people, you all know what happened when kekes cannot run, right? Motorbike, what do you call them, pepe or whatever, they can't run. Everybody's walking. I just don't even want to picture that in my mind. So I'm showing this to you to say that these things have real world consequences, and we need to pay attention. Let me stop there and say again, cybersecurity is everyone's business. Oh, my people, y'all wake up. I know the lunch kicking in. Cybersecurity is everyone's business. All right, moving on. Okay, so you asked about why do cyber criminals or bad actors, what's their motivation? Why do they do what they do? Wait. Something inside. Something inside. Yes, something inside. and there are various reasons why, but the main drivers for cyber criminals and bad actors are what you see on the slide there. So I want to draw your attention, and again, I have a military/national security background as well as a cybersecurity background. So I always go back to things like espionage, right? Whether you like it or not, Liberia is important enough in this geopolitical framework that we have currently. Liberia is important enough for major state actors to target us, whether you believe it or not, because they can target us and they can use our infrastructure to target other people. For those of us who have been in the cyber game for a while, who have investigated incidents and respond to major incidents, you will never find an attack that you can attribute directly to an actor. That attack might have jumped through multiple intermediary points before it got to you. And the last thing you want is all of a sudden you wake up one day, a big country in Africa, their most critical system is down. And where is the attack coming from? Monrovia. Think about the chaos that will create. So, nation-state espionage and nation-state-based attacks are a real thing. So these are the motivations. And the other thing, key takeaway I want you to have is cybercrime. I think you already got the point. It's very costly. Just take a look at the number below there. That's $265 billion worldwide. I mean, just that's free money going to cyber criminals and fraudsters. And for that matter, nation-state actors. Look, whoever heard about North Korea, raise your hand. Okay, we all know North Korea is broke, or they appear to be broke. They don't have many industries or natural resources. Do you know how they fund their government and their people? It's well out there in the public domain. They fund their government using cybercrime. I mean, how much money Liberia get for North Korea to come and steal some of our money and go, build their railroads? We don't have that much money. But I'm telling you, countries that are broke will resort to cybercrime to meet their national goals. So this thing has real impact, real consequences. So we need to pay attention. So those are the motivations and some of the costs associated with cybercrime. Okay, so we already know the motivation, why criminals do what they do. Next, I want to walk you through at least some examples of how they do it. What are some of the methods they undertake? So from Calvin's presentation today, you're listening to some tactical things you can do, right? He was giving you some basic terminology, some basic understanding of some fundamental topics in cybersecurity. And hitting into that was, those defensive tactics he was talking about, but the way those tactics, defensive tactics are deployed is to stop these kind of attacks. So pick your, topic. I think one of the things that probably will resonate with all of you, let's look at phishing. You're not going to believe it. Phishing, as simple as it sounds, and please, experts, please correct me, but I think up to today, phishing is still account for the largest, the highest amount of attacks, at least initial attacks in the cyber domain. So if somebody is trying to exploit you, chances are, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to try to phish you or social engineer you in some kind of way. So that's just a fact. It's the lowest hanging fruit. I think Calvin was trying to explain how, just basic spear phishing emails, I don't know, the click rate on emails, like phishing emails, I don't even want to begin to think what's the click rate. In some places in Liberia, it's probably over 90%. I know if I craft a spear phishing email, for most people in the room, I can guarantee you'll click on it. Because what Kevin was saying, one of my jobs is to know everything about you. Everything, down to what you're dealing with in the last 24 hours. And I can get all of that through what we call OSINT, open source intelligence. There are tools out there, I can know everything about you. And we have social media profiles these days. So I will probably do my due diligence and I will make sure you click on that link. And when you click on that link, it's game over from there. So these are some of the ways cyber criminals can attack our digital landscape or digital infrastructure. Interesting fact, I work for a major bank in the US, and without getting into specifics, we tackle a lot of cyber events. We made sure that controls were put in place to not only detect and defend against these kind of attacks, but very, very sophisticated, high-level attacks that are both mostly in the cloud environment, because that company, most of the digital footprint is in the cloud. So that's a whole different ballgame when you get into. But for Liberia, these are kind of things we need to defend against. And hopefully, a key takeaway for you is, based on what Kevin presented today, how can you apply that knowledge to now start, for example, learning how to deal with phishing attacks or password attacks or stuff like that. So I hope that resonates with you. Okay, so now we're going to get into what can we do? I mean, we're not helpless. I am really, really optimistic about our digital future as well as about cybersecurity future. You know why? What's the first step in solving any problem? Is recognizing that you have what? That problem. And I see, when I look across the room, I see enthusiasm, I see concern. And from our leaders, from the regulators, from decision makers, the appetite seems to be growing. I see the concern. That's the first step in protecting yourself. And if the message comes from top down, His Excellency, the President was here a few days ago. So the message is coming from top down. That means we have willing ears. And for all my fellow experts and technocrats, I challenge you to ride that wave. Now, my grandma used to tell me, when an iron is hot, that's when you should bend it. Now that we have the attention, let's ride that wave. So what can we do? So here are some things we can do. And I'm going to breeze through this because I think you've seen some of these things one way or the other. So, government regulation and laws. We already talked about that, right? We need applicable cybersecurity laws now, not tomorrow, not the day after. We need it now. Okay, let's do it again. Cybersecurity is? Oh, come on, guys. Wake up. Cybersecurity is? Everyone's business. Yes, thank you. We need laws now. You cannot ask the Liberian people to expand their digital footprint if you don't provide laws to help them protect themselves. We need laws now. The next point is, there's precedent. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to, some of these things, we don't even have to create things from scratch. We can take what's working right now and make it work for us. So there are frameworks and standards already out there. We can leverage those frameworks and standards. The National Institute of Science and Technology in America, NIST, they put out in my view, the premier set of standards, right, for technology and cybersecurity. Why can't we start there? We can build our entire cybersecurity program, especially that fits Liberia, based on, for example, the NIST cybersecurity framework, and we'll get to that pretty soon. So there's precedent we can follow. As I said, a little bit more detail on the NIST cybersecurity framework. Today, and I may be oversimplifying this, but whether it's major businesses or government And this will resonate with the LTA folks. When regulators are regulating big businesses today, their cybersecurity program, they most likely refer to the NIST cybersecurity framework. That's why they use it. Now, there are other laws that apply, but when it comes to the mechanics of whether you're doing things right, they look at the cybersecurity framework. So why can we use that? Laws and regulations can be developed. Look, today, if I'm so lucky for somebody to say, Mark, we need your help to develop a cybersecurity regulation or law, maybe that's an addendum to the crime bill. If somebody asked me to do that today, that document, I would just have two sections. One, create an environment where the Liberian people digital assets are protected. Two, base that environment on the cybersecurity, the NIST cybersecurity framework. It will be as simple as that. And then you can just expand from there. So we don't need to recreate all of this. We can just take what's already working for big countries out there and apply it to the Liberian way, to the Liberian situation. Make sure that we are having the right collaboration and partnership. I think it was Mr. Jones that mentioned in ICT in general or in cybersecurity specifically, chances are if you encounter a problem, somebody else already encountered that problem. You know what's missing? They forgot to share that information with you. So information sharing between the government, public entities, and private entities is very important. So any regulation that LTA champions, I hope a significant, or even any cybersecurity law that we create in Liberia, a significant part of it, mandate will be businesses and public entities and private, they have to share information. And there should be a central place for all that information to go. Because in cybersecurity, I'll tell you today, in strength, you have what? Success. Okay, I talk about investment. I think what I said was, put your money where your mouth is. We can't just come and keep you here for 3 days and the government goes and move on to the next thing. If you really want to make a difference, if you really want for us to ride this digital, the expansion of our digital footprint, that in fact is very near and dear to the president's heart. The president is championing this. If the Liberian people are truly to benefit from this journey, we got to make the necessary investments. So again, I challenge all of you today. Talk to your House of Representatives. Talk to your senators. When they're having talks about budget appropriations, ask them, what are you doing to protect my kids online? What are you doing to make sure that the cybersecurity law is being implemented fully? Talk to them, hold them accountable, because we need investment in this sector. We also, part of that investment is, I think we mentioned this, education and awareness. I think Commissioner Benson mentioned that there is talk, I think it was Commissioner Benson or the acting chair, there's talk with the Ministry of Education to include cybersecurity curriculum. But think about it, from an education and awareness perspective, I think we need to include cybersecurity in our formal educational life cycle, but we also need to include awareness for our everyday life. I will be happy to see billboards. When I drive to Broad Street, I see a billboard saying, oh, this is an example of a bad password. Or saying, Don't give your mobile money code to somebody you don't know. Or things that can be flipping and turning and giving you different messages. That's awareness, right? Something as rudimentary as that, you don't know what kind of impact it's going to have. It had tremendous impact. So that's from the awareness part of this. And then, the last thing I want to talk about is how do we operationalize all of this, make it a national program? Well, again, there's nothing stopping us. If we have the right investment, if we have the right leadership, if we know the risk and the threats, right? What's stopping us? We can operationalize this based using frameworks and standards that already work. And it's really easy, but we don't have to boil the ocean. We can take baby steps, right? We can take baby steps and establish, we can start with the baseline and foundational things that we need and operationalize our cybersecurity program. Things as simple as, I think it was Olu that mentioned it or somebody else. Do we have a national level person that is accountable for cybersecurity? Right? Does that person have the right clout? Did they have the right budget? And the influence to make things happen? Right? Do we have centralized national mechanism like a SOC, or in some circles in the industry they call it Fusion Center, where we're collecting threat intelligence information and from about everything from local crime to, we're talking about cybercrime online, all the way to nation-state crime. We're collecting all of that centrally and we're acting on it. Those are the plumbing, the basic fundamental plumbing for a cybersecurity program. Why can't we start doing those now? Again, baby step. We don't have to boil the ocean. We can take baby steps to get there. So, before I get to the next part of this, I just want you to take a step back, think about everything you've learned over the last 2 days, and bring everything full circle. Cybersecurity threat is real, the risk is real, and especially if you apply it to our critical infrastructure, it's even more profound. And that's the key takeaway. So we need to act now. We need to take action. I would be pleasantly surprised if we don't we don't listen to His Excellency's word that this should not be a NATO movement. Please don't let this be a NATO movement. Please. Take action now. Hold your leaders accountable. Let's take action now. Okay. I am going to pause and I want to take a few questions because next we're going to get into something very exciting, which is we're actually going to do what we call, drum roll, a hackathon. I am going to turn everybody in here into hackers. And we're going to, in a practical way, we're going to exercise our muscle memory, and we're going to do a series of activities that are going to make sure that A, you are paying attention, B, that you can apply what you've learned. So before I get into that, I can take 2 or 3 questions before I get into that. Ready?
All right, thank you for the presentation. And I listened to you when you were talking about a ransomware attack. And then you also mentioned the issue of investigating hacker threats or attack when it happens. And then you talk about the chain of command that it happens to, like coming from one person to another before it affects you. And my questions here have to do with how often should a security audit be conducted in an infrastructure or in business setting, that if in case information from this particular sector has been leaked out to hacker through maybe a person within a system using ordinary or personal emails and other things, that the information has leaked out, that hacker is using it maybe to enter into the system.
Yeah.
And then the second one has to do with how can a business respond? Businesses respond to respond effectively to data that is breached already.
Okay, that's a great set of questions. I think, let me make sure I repeat your question so I know I got your questions right. So the first thing is, how often should businesses perform audits?
Security audit.
Security audits, right? The second part of your question was?
Responding effectively to data that is breached.
Yeah, how should businesses respond to data breach? So, in terms of the audit part, right? In most places, there's voluntary audits, internal audits that businesses can undertake. For that, that's left with the corporate standards and policies of those businesses. So businesses can decide to do annual audits or semi-annual audits, right? Or they can do audits after every major change, right? So that's left with the internal structure of the business. But for governmental audits, audits are mandated by law. Those have prescribed timeline. So those could be 1 year, right? Every 1 year. Or this could be after a security event. So the government can say, maybe mandate that after a security event, we will subject you to audit to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. So that's how audits are structured in general. There's more to it, right? But at the basic level, that's how they're structured in general. You want to? Yeah, go ahead.
So anytime there's a data leak, that kind of goes back to some of the corrective controls we talked about earlier. So where the leak come from, patch management solutions. So when you have a vulnerability, identifying the vulnerability and then being able to patch it wherever it's at and wherever it came from, and then definitely having the incident response plan in place would be first. It's not how you go about that process. And then this is where the disaster recovery comes into too. So you want to patch it for sure, the vulnerability, but you also want to make sure you have backup systems in place, somewhere that your data is copied, so that way business operations don't go all the way down. So just to add on to it.
Thank you. Next question.
Hello, I'm happy for this session today. I'm also happy to be part of this conference. I have been on a project called EcoDot by ECOWAS. It's a project that looks into the enhancement of telecom ICT operation across the advancement of telecom ICT advancement across the sub-region. And in that project, we have to do data collection across by each country. And this year, the data collection has been advanced to cyber security and cyber crime indicators. And when it came to Liberia, I didn't have an answer to that, so I was directed to the Ministry of Posts and Telecom, and I was told that Liberia had not put into law the cyber law, the cyber security act. So today, I'm happy to see in your presentation when I say cyber laws, regulation, policies, and here now. If I didn't take anything from this conference, it's one of the things I will carry home, that Liberia indeed is ready to oppose cyber law, to oppose cyber security act of law, and henceforth things will go on, successfully when it comes to cyber security in Liberia. But before I put it, I just want to give some success story about myself. And when Mrs. Regina Desmond talk about, women involvement in ICT or in technology, and I saw in her presentation, I saw that for African women, 17%. It might look low to people, but it was encouragement to me, and it was sound funny to more people here. Because when I joined the missionary field, we were in the analog stage, and I know what I went through as the only lady to have taken that challenge to say I want to do missionary those days. It was a big challenge for me, and today to see that women is at 17%, I know it's a lot, because those days when I joined missionary, they were in the negative. To be the only lady to university or college, the only female in electronic class, the only female in the whole institution. It's a too nice story. You can follow it up and confront it. I was the graduate class, I was the only lady in the missionary, in the electronics department. The only lady in the whole graduate class of that year. So it's giving me courage today that today, as a female, the female are making head with the BBC, or female that are heading or heart of students, the acting security issues, Regina, this is a plus to the work. So when I gave up, we will strive to become power with me. And one thing I know, my woman knows it, is as they do it better. They do it better, so you can even have one woman and have me, and you can equip more women to take me and product. So I'm happy today.
Thank you so much. We'll take the next question and then we'll move on.
Thank you, Mark. I listened to all the panelists from the one to today and discuss in depth about cybersecurity from the various infrastructure, banks, MNOs, and so on. Can we go deep into terrorist cybersecurity?
Sure. So, terrorism, remember I talked about motivations, right? What are cyber criminals and actors, what are their motivations? We talk about that. Well, terrorism is just one motivation. I think in the US, the definition of terrorism is using violence and other the third malicious means to achieve a political outcome. That's some kind of ideological outcome. That's terrorism. So it's a motive, it's a motivation. So terrorist groups across the world, they actually have cyber hackers to help them achieve their goals. So Liberia is a part of the global ecosystem. It's no matter of time before we have a strong disagreement with some faction of the world, right? And now we become target for terrorists. It's not a matter of time. And one of the ways that they will come after us is through cyber means. Whether you like it or not, cyber is a weapon. It is a weapon. And just like a terrorist will take a bomb to help them in their cause, guess what? They will take cyber to help them in their cause. So just think about it. Terrorism is just a motivation, and the tools to achieve that motivation is one of the tools in cybersecurity. Cyber and cyber effects. So I hope I answered that question. Next question.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. And I'd like to add my voice to the voices of other women in the room on how far we have come under technology. Madam Angela is sitting here, and another former commissioner, Madam Maria Harrison, and today we have Madam Angela Kapel, that have excelled to the heights of chair in the commissioner on the board of LTA. They are championing and pushing other women to go forward, to be better. We have, yesterday we saw the display of other women in the room who are also pursuing engineering. We have somebody said they were doing it at PhD level. It shows growth. Some of us partner with other entities or civil society groups like the Internet Society, who have been championing the involvement of girls in ICT. And we have taken that fight to the high schools. We usually go there, carry on awareness, allow their teachers to allow them to attend our events where they will be aware of their surroundings and how we can make them to pick up the challenge and be part of women in technology. So the fight does not only end here. Today we see that it's being championed at the government level. We are happy. But this is something we have been pushing. Madam Asaka Holly, she's also there for women in ICT. So what I want to say is that people on the ground already who are willing, who wants to be there. And the mentorship is there. Like my sister, Bishop Squader, you can serve as mentor to these girls. Encourage them to come on board, to make technology part of their career. It shouldn't be something to be scared about. Because if we can make it, so can they. So for now, now that it has come to the national level, we think we can make it better, we can make it bigger. We encourage more women to join and we make it better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right. We'll take one more. One more, and then we'll move on. One more.
Thank you. It's not a question, but what I've learned today in the past week. Thank you, Mr. Kenneth, for that presentation. There's something I just thought on about other different opinions. When it comes to the mobile, you said something before that mobile situation I was thinking about, right? In Liberia, we have a system where you want to take money from our phone, we go to the bureau. They say, how many wants to sell $100 US? They will plug in the TV to say, where are you? I'm calling them. And tell them that. So since we have learned today that don't expose the password to anyone. Everyone in here, please don't get your food without it. Thank you.
Okay, that's well said. Well said. So we're going to move on, and I would like to call your attention to our hackathon. Basically, a hackathon is just an event where people learn how to hack. You're challenged to hack an environment or a system. So, guess what? I'm going to turn all of you into hackers and defenders to apply everything that you've been learning today. Let me go over the scenario and the rules with you all. So, here are the rules. The audience, I'm going to divide the audience into two groups. Red team, which are your attackers, and blue team, which are your defenders. And I'm going to ask for volunteers from the two sides to to come up and be here on the stage with me. And I'm also going to ask for volunteers from the regulators, because they're also going to play a part in this event. Basically, I'm going to give you a cyber attack scenario, and we're going to role play and walk through those scenarios, and you're going to have the option to make decisions based on whether you are an attacker or a defender or a regulator. And based on the decisions you make, you're going to have three options to make decisions. Based on the decision you make, you're going to be graded. You're all going to start with 10 points. If you make a decision that does not actually reduce risk or stop the threat, the judges will deduct a point from you, from that group. If you make the correct decision and choices, no point will be deducted. At the end of the day, we're going to see who's going to win. So, on my right-hand side is going to be the red team. You guys are going to be the attackers. So, you're going to answer the attacker questions. On my left-hand side, there's more people on my left hand, you're going to be defenders. So in the real world, there are more defenders than attackers, but still, the defenders don't win. So let me just tell you that. So on my right hand side, you're going to be defenders. So you're going to be answering the defender questions. Kevin? Okay. We kind of need, where's Olu? Okay, I think I will fill in the role as a judge for now. You will see that a lot of what we're going to discuss in the hackathon is going to touch on things you've learned, right? And I'm just trying to bring everything full circle, so to make sure that you guys are A, paying attention, B, did you retain anything? Because I know those potato green cassava after lunch, they can go a long way. All right, so one thing you should remember, defenders need to be right all the time. And how many times attacker need to be right? Once. Remember that. That's the old cardinal rule in cybersecurity. That's why the actual practicality of all of this is very difficult, especially for defenders. All right. So, can I ask, where are the regulators? I think we have volunteers. You're going to be representing the regulators, right? You and somebody else? Okay, so that's the regulator team. Can I have a volunteer from the red team, the attackers? Oh, Victor, right? Come up. Come up. All right, can I have a volunteer from the defenders, the blue team? I want a student, most likely a female, for representation. I'm going to say come on, don't be shy. Yeah, if you want. Yeah. She can, in true American Idol style, she can ask for a lifeline or something, right? All right. Victor, do you mind just pulling those chairs so that we can sit down? Okay, so we got the regulators team. We got. Yeah, we're sitting here right here. We got our attacker representing our red team. We have a defender representing our blue team. And I'll be here. I think the only thing we're missing is our judges. Here's Olu. Olu, can you come up, please? You represent our judges. So what the judges will do, they will literally judge the team on the actions they take. Remember, we said cybersecurity is a collaborative effort. Everybody has a part to play. All right, so we understand the rules. We know the teams. I will be here. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. The blue team on my left and the red team, you have a dual role, even though you're blue team and red team, but you get to be the final arbiter of the answers. So if Victor proposes an attack method, he's gonna say, he's gonna run it by the red team people. If you all say it's okay, then it's gonna get scored. Okay? Basically, you are some sort of board of directors. You approve his actions. Same thing with the blue team. All right, so you guys ready to rumble? So who's gonna win? Blue? Let me hear it. Say blue team. Blue team. Ah, come on. You are a lot more than the red team, and I can't hear it. Let me hear it. Blue team. One more time. Blue team. All right.
Wait.
Go blue!
Go blue. All right. Okay, I think the red team, because the red team are a lot more talented, they're a lot more malicious and nefarious, I think I'm going to hear a bigger sound from them. Go say red team. Red team. Oh, let me hear it. Go. Red team. Oh, okay, good. So now we're ready to rumble. Okay, great. So let's jump in. This is the scenario. I know for most of you who know, maybe you don't live in Liberia, but I do. There's a famous bank in Liberia called Duco Bank. That bank is so huge in Liberia. They hold 55% of all the national deposits. I mean, everybody who's banking. By the way, people are looking at me and say, Duco Bank? Come on, my people, it's a fake bank. So, that bank holds 55% of the deposit in Liberia. They also control 60% of mobile money transactions. So, that tells you the bank is a big player in the Liberian economy, right? That's Duco Bank. You know where the old Duco Hotel used to be? They turned that into a bank. So go check it out. So the other thing you should know about Duco Bank is they operate this money movement payment system that's actually connect outside of Liberia. Some of their payment systems connect outside of Liberia. So for the regulators, wing, not, from a data protection perspective. So the different roles we have. I forgot. Oh my God. Sorry. I need a volunteer for Duco Bank, a user who will represent Duco Bank. From the blue side. Raise your hand if you want to represent. Oh. Okay. You will be representing Duco Bank. So you are a VP or director at Duco Bank, and you are using their system. So your goal is to take the most appropriate action in this scenario. Attacker, where's my attacker? Oh, your action is you are going to deliver ransomware. And when you deliver that ransomware, your goal is to, keyword ransom. What are you going to demand? Ransom. Cash, whatever. Or you can even demand Bitcoin. Who knows? Yeah, cash. He's a cash guy. And then you're gonna steal some data while you're doing that. And my defender. Oh, there she is, Lucia. And your goal is you're gonna simulate or take the best cyber defensive action given you based on what you learned today from Olu, Kelvin, Peter, and other people, experts in the room. And my regulator team, where are you? There you are. Where's your compatriot? Okay, so you're going solo. So your goal is, based on what's happening, you observe as regulators do, and then based on the information you get, you take the appropriate regulatory action. You see what laws apply or something like that, what you can do to make sure we mitigate the environment. All right, so you ready? Duco Bank is very important to me. I have my deposits there too. I even have the debit card in my pocket.